Greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is John Campia, and this is a companion video. What are companion videos? Well, I'm glad that you asked. You see, every day on the John Campia Show, Monday through Friday, and on open mic on the weekends, we take live questions from the audience, but I don't always have time to get around to all the live questions that get in, but I want to make sure those questions get answered in a video, so I take those questions we didn't have time for, and I address them here on their own video, the companion videos. So we got to get caught up from a couple of days worth of questions that we're running behind a bit on. So let's get all caught up to date. And we're going to start off with a question from LightRunner87 who writes, do you feel like there is too many film releases for the first quarter? Lego Movie, Alita, Dragon 3, Captain Marvel, and Fate Stay. I don't know what that is. All come out within a week of each other. Well, no, they do not come out within a week of each other. They're all spread out. Dragon 3 comes out like 3 weeks after Lego Movie. Alita opens after that. Captain Marvel. No, so they do not. Maybe you're in a country that's not here. Maybe in your country they are, but here they're not. So I can only respond to them on that. No, do I think that's too many? Look, every week 3 to 4 new movies come out. That's just the way it is. Not all the time wide release, but quite often 4 films a week will be in wide release. Sometimes 3, sometimes 2, whatever, but it's been like that for a while. There are some slightly higher profile ones, but look, as long as to me a movie isn't releasing within like a week of another big movie, like at least put 2 weeks, then you're fine. And certainly within first quarter, I think it's fine. So that's just the way of the movie world now. A couple movies come out every single week. That's just the way it is. So no, I don't feel like quarter one is overcrowded at all. Not in the least, Light Runner. I think we're okay there. All right. Mark Reederer writes, leaked Star Wars 9 title is Balance of the Force. Well, I talked about that this week. Yes, that's the leaked title, if you believe that an anonymous Reddit user is a reliable source to say, oh, that's what the title is. Now look, we talked about this on the show, so I'm not going to go into it in detail again, but an anonymous Reddit user wrote, I know what the title of the movie is. And Balance of the Force, by the way, is a name that tons of people have been guessing. It's the name of a Star Wars video game, a pinball video game. It's the name of a Star Wars collectible card game. It's been a guess that a lot of people use. Now look, it may very well be Balance of the Force, but don't put any belief in that just because some anonymous Reddit... Look, remember, anonymous Reddit users said that Batman versus Superman was going to be split into 2 films. Remember that? It's going to be called Batman v Superman, Dawn of Justice, and part 2 is going to be called Batman v Superman, Enter the Night, like K-N-I-G-H-T. Remember that? And everybody bought it, and it was all BS. Again, Balance of the Force might be the title, but people have been guessing that title for over a year. Don't believe it just because an anonymous Reddit user wrote that and then everybody ran with it. So it might be it, but not because of that. Murray Reich writes, I heard the title of episode 9 is, who cares, you still want the trailer anyways, which is true, Murray. They can put out the title, but everybody's still then just going to be talking about wanting to see the trailer, so it's all true. Chad's Big Huge Geek Commentary writes, over under 40% that Kevin Feige announces Phase 4 slate at D23. I'll tell you what, it's a possibility. It's certainly a possibility. D23 is a big event for Disney. It comes out in August. D23 is in August, and I think it's after Spider-Man Far From Home. So that would be when you'd be announcing Phase 4. The only question is whether or not he announces it before D23. That's, I think, the only question at this point. But yeah, I think 40% is a good number, but I'll take the over 40% that they make the announcement at D23. Again, I don't think it's 100%, but I'll take over 40, sure. All right, let's see here. The Jumengo writes, PBJ mayonnaise sandwich tasting cutdown. To be clear, it is not PBJ and mayonnaise. It is peanut butter, butter, and mayonnaise. Not peanut butter and jelly and mayonnaise. Peanut butter, butter, and mayonnaise. That's the sandwich. And yes, I think I'll do that on the show sometime. Scott Kolonko writes, over under 30%, The Batman is a present-day reboot with 0 connections to the current DCEU. I don't think so, but I'll take over 30%. I think it's under 50%, so I don't think that's what's going to happen. But if you set the line at 30 and you give me those numbers, I'll take the over. Because look, even Matt Reeves has talked a bit about it. And when he's talked about it, it's been very, very vague terms. And it's like, it is connected and it's not, which could mean there's no practical connections in there. I don't know that it'll be it might be a pure reboot. But anyway, to answer your question, Scott, I like the line you're setting at 30, so I'll take the over at 30, even if I wouldn't take the over at 50%, which means I still don't think it's what's going to happen. I'll still take the over on 30. All right. Victor Garrity writes, my pick for the bat, John David Washington. Thoughts? I don't care. As long as he's a good actor. I'll say this, though. John David Washington was great in Black Klansman. It's my second favorite movie of the year. But I haven't seen anything to suggest to me he'd be a good Batman. Honestly, other than Black Klansman is the only film I've seen him in. So, wouldn't be in my first round of choices. That's all. It's like, I really don't care. Like, there's any one of 20, but there are probably 20 or 25 guys I would take before him, to be honest with you, because I just haven't seen anything that tells me he's a good Batman. Just not yet. Anyway, Tristan Brown writes, happy Wednesday, John. Obviously, this was a question that came in a couple of days ago on Wednesday. And Ashley, my wife and I are moving to Glendale. Oh, I like Glendale. It's right beside Burbank. This month, excited my AMC theater of choice will now be AMC Burbank. And you're going to love it. I love the AMC Burbank. But there's a couple of good movie theaters in Glendale as well. One in particular is at the Glendale Galleria, I think is what it's called. Anyway, they've got a big theater there, and they got this big outdoor. What is it? Is it the Galleria? Is that what they call it? There's this big outdoor shopping area there. Anyway, then there's a good movie theater there. Lots of good stuff in Glendale. I think you're going to enjoy. I lived in Glendale for a little while. It was my second favorite place in LA to live. Was Glendale. Burbank is my favorite place that I've lived. I've lived in Hollywood and Glendale and a few other places, but Burbank is where I like being, but Glendale is literally right beside Burbank. I mean, Ann and I just hop on our street here by our house, and we just drive down it for 10 minutes, and we're in Glendale, right? It's a great place, and you're going to love going to movie theaters at the AMC Burbank 16, and maybe you'll bump into me because I'm there quite a bit. All right, Victor Garrity writes, Ray Lewis biopic, thoughts? He played football. Honestly, I don't know. Look, there are certainly exceptions. Walk the Line was great. Things like that. There are exceptions. But for the most part, I'm really more into biopics about people who change the world. So I'm more into a biopic about Abraham Lincoln or about Mr. Rogers or about, Neil Armstrong. About people who help change the world. I'm more about that. I'm not as much into look, I love Bohemian Rhapsody. I did. But I'm really not all that, generally speaking, I'm not all that interested in biopics about musicians and athletes. But again, there are exceptions. I liked Ali very much. I liked Walk the Line. I like Bohemian Rhapsody. But I would get more excited for a movie about a good biopic on Nelson Mandela. I'd be way more into a good biopic, about more important people than entertainers and athletes. Let's just put it that way. Although they do put out some that are great to me. The Jumengo writes, did you guys watch the Purge TV show? Is really, really good. Surprised me a lot. And I didn't like any of the movies. I have not seen any of the Purge TV show, but Jumengo, what you are saying is something I've heard a lot of. I've heard a lot of good things about it. I've heard many people who both like the movies and dislike the movies all seem to like the show. So it's one I've got on my list. It's about 4 or 5 down on my list right now, but it's on my list. And hopefully I'll get around to watching that pretty soon because I'm hearing good things. All right. David Hendry writes, where'd David go? There he is. David Hendry writes, hi, John. It's my wife's birthday today. I think it's your wife's birthday today, and she's feeling down about turning 28. Can you wish her a happy birthday, as she is a big fan? Thanks, big man. Well, Mrs. David Henry, since I don't know your actual name, happy birthday to you. It's a day or two belated now, but happy belated birthday to you. I hope you have a great one and enjoy 28. I know I did, and so did my wife, so enjoy it. All right. Thanks for that, David. All right. Ryan writes, Brandon inks as new Chappie. I can see it. I have no idea I don't know who Brandon Inks is. I don't know what Chappie you're talking about. So I need a little bit more context, Ryan. Jujumengo writes, over or under 30%. My favorite comic book run ever, Secret Wars, will get a big screen adaptation once all the Marvel characters are under one company. Well, I mean, look, eventually just about every popular story run in comics will be covered. I mean, they've done Civil War, they've done Days of Future Past. Eventually, they're even doing Crisis on Earth on the CW. Eventually, they're all going to happen. Eventually, they all will. So, at 30%, like whether or not Disney took over Fox, I think it eventually would have happened anyway. Now, you can ask 30% within the next 2 years. I don't know about that. But eventually? Oh, yeah, for sure. It's a guarantee. It's an absolute guarantee. I would take over on 95% on that. So absolutely it'll happen because they're all going to happen at some point. All right. Samir Kotana writes, would there be a different version of superhero movies if Schumacher's Batman movies were hits? Honestly, I don't think so. Because here's the thing. Over time, the genre was going to mature and evolve and change and develop. Did the failures of the Schumacher Batman films, were they an influence in how they evolved from there? Sure. But even the success of them, evolution was still going to happen. They were still going to change and mature. And as the studios got more and more experienced at making these movies, they would get better at making the movies. And I don't think there's a big solid argument to say that we wouldn't be in the exact same places we are now, even if those films were hits. Maybe there would have been a big difference in the first year or two after them, or the first 3 or 4 years after them. But eventually, I think we would have landed on this kind of a spot anyway. This is where it was all heading. So I don't know that we'd be in a very different place today, even if they had been hits. That's just my thought. Maybe you have a different opinion on that. Leave it in the comments section below. All right. Mason Hawking writes, Star Wars 9, Justice for Han Solo. Yeah, we've had a few people send that one in, Mason. Zolio Jackson writes, the kid says, welcome to Wakanda, but looks like Deadpool. I don't know what you're referencing, Zolio. Sorry about that. Josh Quick writes, Jurassic Park and Fast and Furious crossover. We talked about that before, actually. I mean, they are under the same roof, right? They're both Universal Pictures. Could they eventually? Here's the only reason why I say no, it won't happen. All joking aside, the only reason it won't happen is not because Universal wouldn't think it's an interesting idea. And it's certainly not because Vin Diesel wouldn't think it's a cool idea. If you went to Vin Diesel right now and said, how would you like to cross over Fast and Furious to Jurassic Park? He'd say yes in a heartbeat. But I'll tell you who won't, the Jurassic Park rights owners. You would be in for a fight. The people at Jurassic Park and the producers oversee that, they would not want to mix it with Fast and the Furious. I think Universal would go for it. I know Vin Diesel would. He'd love. I'm telling you, Vin Diesel will touch himself at night at the idea of putting his character, Dominic Toretto, riding a T-Rex into battle. I'm telling you, he will touch himself thinking about that. But I don't think the producers overseeing Jurassic World would ever let that. It'll be over a my dead body sort of situation, so don't count on it. All right. Tom Kierstead writes, could a Deadpool universe share characters with MCU? No. I think that's something that Iger and Feige would not want to allow to happen. It's only happened really in one minor situation where Fox and Disney both had very limited rights to Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch. Fox never even used Scarlet Witch, and they used Quicksilver a certain way, and then Marvel used Quicksilver in a certain way, but in a very, very different way. And out of all the world of the characters, that was the one minor thing. I don't think Kevin Feige is interested in doing characters while other versions of that character are appearing in other movies. I don't think he's down for that. I don't think Bob Iger's all in for that, because Bob Iger does not like confusing the audience, which is why you're not going to see a live-action Spider-Man in the Sony universe until the deal with MCU is done, and hopefully that won't be for a while. Iger is very big on not confusing the audience. So I don't think that's something... I mean, if Disney really wanted to do that, of course they could. It's their characters. But don't hold your breath, because I don't think Feige is interested in that, and I don't think Bob Iger's interested in that at all. Angus Dushagir writes, hello, thanks for reassuring me last week about the Joker rewrites. Oh yeah, I remember that story. A lot of people got nervous about it. I wouldn't worry about that at all. I needed that. But National Treasure, do you think we'll eventually see a third? No. There was a time when I thought we would, and I'd be down for it. But every year that has passed lessens and lessens. Number one, it lessens and lessens its relevance. Secondly, it completely devaluates the odds that it would actually get made. And now another year is passing, and another year is passing. It's so finite. I just don't see them doing it. I'll be down for it. If they make one, I'll be there. Just let me know. I'll go. But at this point, it feels kind of hopeless. Never say never. But I got to admit, right now, it feels kind of hopeless. Pelican Mike writes, have you guys seen The Ballad of Buster Scruggs? Yes, I was a little bit late to the party. I didn't love it as much as some people did. I got friends of mine who put in their top 5 films of the year. I at least thought it was very good. I thought it was very good. I'm not quite as overwhelmed with it as some people are, but I at least thought it was very good. Ben writes, what a great year for us general comic book fans. Genera comic book fans. Number 1, Endgame. Number 2, Episode 9. Not a comic book movie. Number 3, final year of Game of Thrones. Also not a comic book thing. Number 4, Lion King. Also not a comic book thing. So I don't know what you mean by comic book fans. Unless you mean last year was amazing and this year looks great. Look, just the year for us general movie fans. Particularly us fans of genre types of movies. And storytelling in general. Game of Thrones, Endgame, Star Wars, Lion King. I mean, there's a whole Hobbs. I'm super excited about Hobbs and Shaw. We got another It coming out. It's going to be a great year. It's already been pretty good, but it's already been, just in the next couple of months, we're going to have Captain Marvel, Endgame, Spider-Man. I mean, it's going to be a great year, my friends. A really, really good year, Ben. All right. Alan Gonzalez writes, Star Wars in Spanish is Guerra de las Galaxias. That in English is Galaxy Wars. That in Spanish is Guerra de las Estrellas. If my friend was here, she'd be able to say this perfectly. And that is Star Wars. Interesting. I never knew that. I had no idea. I wonder what the discrepancy is. I wonder why. I wonder if there's any explanation or story behind why it's named like that. That's interesting. No, see, that's something I didn't know about Star Wars. Thank you, Alan. I appreciate that. Santaz Henderson writes, that Shaft trailer is just bad. Not a chuckle. Oh, and hi, Ashley. Well, she's not here right now. Yeah, Rob really loved that Shaft trailer. I got to tell you, it did nothing for me. I didn't hate it. I think it was bad. It didn't lessen my excitement for the movie. Let's say that. But it did nothing to get me more interested in it, to be honest with you. I thought it was a very bland trailer, very predictable. Nothing out of the ordinary, nothing surprised me in it. It's just, and I didn't even chuckle. But there are people out there, including Rob, who really, really liked it. So, hey, it worked for some people. It just didn't work for me. I'm still looking forward to the movie, though. I still can't wait to watch it. But the trailer, I must admit, didn't work for me. All right. Never mind, I still don't get likes writes. Have Deadpool R-rated in the MCU. Drop references to the rest of the... Have Deadpool R-rated in the MCU. Drop references to the rest of the MCU in his movies and just limit his cursing whenever you want to cross him over. No, I disagree. I don't think that's the proper way to do it, because then you're going to be inconsistent with your character, and that will just make fans of the character unhappy, right? When you start with you got to be consistent with your character. And I don't think you can go from having an R-rated pure Deadpool to PG-13, then back to R, then back to PG. Nah. Anyway, besides, Bob Iger's already said, we will do R-rated Deadpool films, but it will not be under the Marvel banner. So that kind of ends the discussion right there anyway, right? So, and I think that's the right move. I think it's the right move. Let's see. The Popcornator writes, we will lose Irons as Alfred / Simmons as Gordon. I think so. Which is too bad. I really quite like Jeremy Irons as Alfred. Not as much as the Michael Caine Alfred, but I love Jeremy Irons. And I think Simmons would have been a great Gordon. I mean, we didn't get much of him on that rooftop, right? But I think he would have been a really good Detective Gordon. I really do. But I highly doubt. I'm not going to say it's not going to happen. I'm just saying I doubt it. I doubt it. Could happen though. Could. But I doubt it, unfortunately. Two Colored Gamer writes, or Coolered Gamers writes, why is nobody talking about I'm Not Here? I don't even know what movie we're talking about. Hold a second. I'm Not Here. Which one is it? Well, apparently it's got J.K. Simmons and Sebastian Stan in it. I think nobody's talking about it because nobody knows anything about it. I'll tell you what, I've never seen a single trailer for this. And apparently it was made 2 years ago. Apparently they made this movie like all the way back in 2017 is when they made it. And it sounds like they're finally just sneaking it into theaters. I've seen not a single trailer for it. So it's got J.K. Simmons, Sebastian Stan, Mandy Moore. Hey, I guess the bottom line is if the studio's not talking about it, why should we be talking about it? I guess that's the overall moral of the story here. Yeah, they made it in 2006. Sorry, they made it in 2016. Was originally supposed to come out in 2017. And it's been sitting on a shelf for years. Not a good sign. There's no marketing for it. Not a good sign. That would probably be why no one's talking about why no one's talking about I'm Not Here. Let's see. XX Your Disease writes, thoughts on Dead Ringers with Jeremy Irons. Oh, I liked Dead Ringers. Let me just make sure I'm thinking of the right movie that I like, because I'm thinking about one like from the late 80s. Dead Ringers, 1988. Yes, this is the one as well. I couldn't tell you anybody else who was in the movie. But I do remember him. I remember liking it. It's not like I've watched it again in the last 15 years, but I remember liking the film. But I can't tell you all that much about it, other than the fact that it's got a gynecologist in it. I mean, that's not the only thing I remember. So there you go. Brad Canfield writes, going to the theater is an experience, John's words. I feel the same, not the same as sitting at home. So I wouldn't like my experience to be interrupted. Again, Brad, see, here's the thing. I'm sure you're going into talking about the whole topic about should they have intermissions again? And I, for one, am not sold on it, but I would lean towards trying it for movies minimum 2.5 hours long. Movies that are shorter than 2.5 hours, particularly movies that are like 2 hours, an hour and a half, no need for an intermission. But for 2.5 hours plus, I would lean towards yes. Because everybody's saying, oh, it interrupts the experience. It pulls you out of the movie. Guess what? You go to, maybe 1 out of every 5 times you go to the films, but you got up to go to the bathroom. Did that ruin the movie for you that you went to the bathroom? Nah. The only bad thing is you missed a couple of minutes of the movie. At least with an intermission, you can go to the bathroom and you're not missing any of the movie. And throughout the movie, there'll be fewer people getting up to go out and walking in front of you because there's an intermission. And by the way, Rob and Ashley and I talked about this on we have a Patreon podcast that's exclusively for our Patreon supporters. It's called Best of the Week. We do it every Friday, but we were talking about it a little bit more. And we were talking about how we've been getting emails from viewers around the world, and a number of them from countries where it's like, wait a minute, you guys don't have intermissions? We've had intermissions in our movies all the time. And those people writing to us are saying, it's not a problem. It doesn't pull you out of the movie. It doesn't interrupt the movie. So I get it. There's this theoretical, hypothetical thing that if there was an intermission, it would ruin the movie for me. Well, I'm getting tons of emails, and Rob's getting them too, from people around the world who are in certain places where they actually still do that. And they're telling us, no, it's not. We don't even think about it. It's not an issue at all. It's not a problem at all. So I don't think it would be a problem for anybody else either. I think the theory of it is scary. I think the hypothetical theory of it is like, stopping the movie, that's going to pull me up. But I'm hearing from people over the world telling me it's not a problem. We don't even notice it. It's just, oh, now it's time we can take a break. We'll go check my phone, refill my soda, go to the bathroom, and I don't have to do it in the middle of the movie and miss half of the movie or miss a couple of minutes of the movie. Everybody else is telling me that people who live through it are telling me it's no issue at all. So I really doubt it's going to be an issue for anybody else too. But who knows? We'll have to wait and see. Razor's Edge Frisbee writes, scarier film, The Witch or Hereditary? I think both are on their own level of disturbing, but I picked The Witch. Third act alone stuck with me like a moth. Legit almost made me sick because I was horrified. I'll be honest with you, I don't find either of them particularly scary. Disturbing, yes. Tense, yes. But I didn't find either The Witch or Hereditary, as much as I like both of those films, and I love both those films. As much as I like both those films, I quite admittedly didn't find either of them all that scary, per se. So if I had to pick one, I'll agree with you, The Witch, because of the third act. Because I'll admit, that one thing, I'm not going to give too much away, but when the line is spoken near the end of the movie, what dost thou want? I'm not going to lie. Look, hair on my arm standing up, even thinking about it. I'm not going to lie. I got chills. I got a little creeped out when, what dost thou want? Okay, that was a bit, so for that line alone, I'll go agree with you, Razor, to say Frisbee, but I like them. But I think I might even prefer Hereditary. I prefer Hereditary, but which one is scarier? I'll lean towards The Witch. All right, Raymond Verrata writes, Bill and Ted 3 got verified on Twitter. Make a Bill and Ted / John Wick crossover, time-traveling assassin dudes, air guitars, and finger guns. Yeah, I still don't think the movie's going to happen. But John, they've said, I know, they've said they're doing it 1,000 different ways. And then it keeps getting delayed and nothing happens, and they keep saying what's going to happen, but it never happens. I honestly have my severe doubts that it's actually ever going to happen. I don't hope for that. I'd like to see it. I'd be down for another Bill and Ted's. But it's all talk. At this point, I don't see anything happening. So I have my doubts. Hopefully we will get it though. Hopefully we will. All right. Adam K writes, if Disney wanted to can Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 and put the characters in a Thor film, would the cast agree to become supporting characters? Do they even have a choice? They don't really have a choice. I mean, all the actors, including Dave Bautista, have a number of films left on their contracts. And whether the studio decides to use those in Guardians of the Galaxy titled movies or in somebody else's titled movie, it's kind of irrelevant. If Disney calls them to appear, they got to come and appear. So, yeah, they could, but I don't see that happening. I don't see that. I think we're going to get Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. We're going to get it at some point. It's just that Disney's got a little bit of a fight finding the right person to direct it. Because, I mean, we're hearing other Disney directors saying, I ain't going to direct that. That's James's movie. And so you're going to have to find somebody that the cast wouldn't reject. Because the cast all signed a public letter saying, bring back James Gunn. And Disney said no. Dave Bautista has been very public saying, I don't even want to work with you anymore. Let me out of my contract. Please fire me. And they won't fire him. So it's a sticky situation. But even though all that is true, I still believe at some point we're going to get Guardians of the Galaxy 3. It'll happen, I think. Rubbish Speakers writes, we haven't got a trailer yet for the Batman. Should we? Rubbish is clearly being facetious. Yeah, you know, you nailed it. You absolutely nailed it, Rubbish Speakers. Trev Fishbein writes, Titans is on Canadian Netflix, John. Well, yeah. So basically what happens for like DC streaming service, right? It's only in the United States. But Warner Brothers still wants people around the world to see their content. So since they don't have the DC streaming service in those countries, they license them to Netflix. That has happened with a number of series. And it's probably what's going to happen with the Disney streaming service too. I suspect the Disney streaming service is only going to be in the United States. And then when their shows come out, they're going to license them out to Netflix in foreign markets. So, yeah. Yeah, I wouldn't I would not doubt it at all. By the way, interesting thing. Hulu, right? So here's how it works in reverse. Hulu is not in Canada. So if we wanted to watch The Runaways in Canada, guess what? They dropped all of season 2 at once on Hulu, but in Canada, they licensed, there is no Hulu in Canada, so they licensed out to a TV network, and the TV network was only showing them one episode a week. On Hulu, you can get them all at once. On the television network in Canada, you had to watch it once a week. So that's kind of like how you got the streaming service here, not available overseas. They put it out there. So, yep, not surprised that they've got Titans on Netflix in Canada. Matt J. Hendricks writes, thoughts on The Strangers 1 and 2? I'm not terribly big on either of them. I thought The Strangers 1 was okay. I know there's some people that think that movie's brilliant. Good. Okay, that's fine. That's fine. Didn't work for me all that great. And I'll be honest with you. I right now can't even remember if I even bother sawing to. So not many thoughts to give on that. JPG writes, GOAT is greater than Ram. Thanks for the great movie chat. Yep. So Tom Brady, the GOAT, is always stronger than the Ram. Don't forget that, folks. Don't forget that. Should have let that govern your sports betting. It's a good thing I didn't bet because I thought the Rams were going to win that game. Prady Iyer writes, we have intermission in all Bollywood movies. There's a good example. And it's always worked in the movie by the directors. It works out seamlessly. Good to know. I mean, that's just another example, again, of somebody writing. Now, the one thing about the Bollywood examples, though, and Ashley and Rob and I talked about this on the Patreon podcast, Best of the Week. The one thing about the ones in India is that the Bollywood films in India, from what I understand, are made specifically to time up for the intermission. There are other countries that they have intermissions, but they just randomly select a middle point where this is a good place to put in a break, and they just put in a break. But in Bollywood and India, the directors actually try to figure that in as well. So that's a little bit different, but it's another example of a place that it's intermission and the audience doesn't mind it. It totally works fine. But India is a little bit different because the directors actually plan for it, whereas in some other places, it's not planned for. It's just that the theaters will pick, we think this is a good spot to put the break. Okay, that's where we'll put the break. So it's a little bit different. Anyway, guys, we are now all caught up on the Super Chat questions that came in on the John Campea Show this previous week. Thank you so much for sending those in, giving us some good stuff to talk about. I really appreciate that. Don't forget, guys, the John Campea Show returns on Monday with me, Robert, and Ashley. Make sure you come back and join us then. Also, look for some shows over the weekend. We're going to be doing some open mics over the weekend, so come on by and talk about movie stuff or whatever it is you guys like to talk about along the way. That'll do it for me, guys. Thanks a lot for being here. My name's John Campea, and until next time, bye-bye.